ritual is more of an interactive with a beautiful panel of youths. So with us we have Nidhi Shukla. You all know her, and she's our Inner Space team member, coordinator, and organizes all the big programs that you see in the center here. And being a youth herself, she interacts with a lot of youths, and she knows that they love spirituality, they love knowledge, they love this atmosphere, and she feels very keen to see their insights and to want to draw the best out of them. And hopefully in the future, take up spirituality as a full-time journey, right? And so I'd like to also introduce to you two youths, Manvi Shah. She's a dedicated food scientist and has an appreciation for spirituality. And we have Ashish Surothia, and he is an associate director in financial services. So you can see the array of mind fields they're coming from. And so I'd like to welcome them. And the stories they're going to talk about, that's probably where the topic is coming in as mythological miracles. I'm sure you're going to experience it this evening. And so I'd like to welcome them on stage. Thank you.
Sit here. Shall we make a start? Good evening, all. Om Shanti. Just very brief, Nidhi kind of alluded to the topic. I grew up in Indian subcontinent in a multi-ethnic society and had classmates from different walks of life, including religious backgrounds. In addition to academic studies, I was fortunate enough to share their mythological stories and concepts. While we had a significant understanding of great Indian epics like the Ramayana and Mahabharata, I was fortunate enough to be exposed to Shakespeare and hence Greek and Roman mythologies. Broadly, there are similar concepts but different stories, and I believe Manvi will agree to that.
Yeah, I will definitely agree. I think my exposure from Mahabharata and Ramayana comes from my mother. I'm going to give it to her because I think whatever life lessons she's taught me in my life has always, she would explain it to me through these stories. And I've always found that growing up, I've found that they have a lot of spiritual learnings that we can learn from. I think Bhagavad Gita has been had a very significant impact on me when it comes to spiritual learnings. And the first scenario of Mahabharata itself, where you see the hero of Mahabharata, Arjun, who is standing in the Dharam Kshetra or the Kurukshetra, the land of the war that they say. And he is standing in the middle and he's supposed to be fighting his own family. So he's looking into one end where he sees his cousins and his teacher, and he looks back and he sees his own family, his sons, his brothers. And that is when he drops his weapons in that moment, saying that I don't want to fight. And he tells God, Lord Krishna, that I don't want to fight. So then it comes a time when Krishna starts giving the Gita Gyan, as they say. And in the whole Gita Gyan, I think the word dharma and adharma has been used over 1,000 times. And the first lesson has been about detachment. And as a person, I've always found detachment as a very difficult concept on how to practice it. So if you tell us what is dharma, adharma, and detachment?
Sure. So first of all, welcome everyone. And I'm seeing there are people, many people watching us online, but also who are here in person. Is everybody familiar with the concepts of Mahabharata and Ramayana? Yes, no? Have you heard that before? No, right? So what they're referring to is a mythological story, and a beautiful story where what she mentioned about dharma. Dharma is translated as righteousness, right? Adharma is the opposite. Right? And it's a story of five brothers fighting for righteousness. And there is a phase in their life that they have to fight against their own family. And where at that moment there is a conflict. Because how can I fight with my own brother? Right? We have grown up with a lot of love, we've grown up with a lot of trust on each other, no matter what they are doing. But after all, they are my family. And to go against the family is unrighteous, right? That's what we've been taught. So you're telling me to fight for righteousness by being unrighteous. Is that true? That's what the essence is?
Yes.
Okay. So, how to decode this, right? What is dharma? You've heard this word dharma? Have you heard the word karma? Karma? So, karma is something that I do. Right? What is dharma? Dharma is something what I imbibe, what I stand by. The word dharma starts from a word dhar, which means the Hindi word is dharna. So, what I'm having within me, what I'm imbibing within me. So, how would I know what I'm imbibing is right or not right? Because the definition of right for me is different than what you have a definition for right. So, what is right for you could be wrong for me, and what is right for me could be wrong for 10 people. Right? So, how do I define what is right, what is wrong? How do I define what is dharma? So, in the Brahma Kumaris, we've got a very beautiful saying. Very beautiful. How many of you heard the word Om Shanti? You've heard? Everyone? We say Om Shanti. Do you know what does it mean? What does it mean?
I am peaceful.
I'm peaceful, and peace is my religion. Right? Yeah? So peace is my religion. Religion is dharma. You must have heard this word religion in multiple contexts. One is religion, like you have Hinduism, you have Christianity, Islam, and different religion. But when somebody does a work dedicatedly, with perseverance, with passion, when people look at their action, that karma, they say that he or she is practicing this religiously.
Yes.
Right? Which means they're not bringing religion into it, but they are holding that. Right? So dharma means what I am holding. If anything that I'm holding, it could be my belief, it could be the way I am behaving, it could be my personality, it could be my choices, right? But are they bringing peace to me? Are they bringing peace to everybody around me? That's dharma. Simple. So you could reflect inside and see whatever I'm holding. I'm not saying it is making my life easy, but is it making my life peaceful? Because some belief system could make my life easy, but does not bring necessarily peace in my life.
It's a beautiful answer. I think that comes to a question where Lord Krishna says that dharma is detachment. So I think I've always found when difficult situations arise, and as Shiv Baba says, that sometimes to respond to it in the correct way, you need to detach yourself from that situation and look at it in a different perspective. But the thing which has always I've always wondered is, how do you practice detachment in life?
How do you practice? Do you practice detachment? Anybody? You try. Does it work? How sweet. Right? What is detachment? Detachment is not disconnect. More often, we are not able to detach because we think that by detaching means we have to disconnect ourselves from that situation, which is not possible. Because I am in this situation, I cannot disconnect myself. So, detachment is not disconnecting, detachment is actually involving yourself consciously in that situation.
Okay.
Now, it's paradoxical, right? Let me explain. What is detachment? Detachment, your question is, how do I get it?
Yeah.
Does anybody have the same question? How do we detach ourselves from a situation? Yes? Okay. Um, let's say an example that somebody has behaved in a way with me and I'm not able to come to terms with it. And people say detach. Simple example, right? Or there's something in my life that has happened that I was very much connected to, or something which was very dear to me has been taken away. And then people say detach. It's easier to be said, but reality doesn't work. So, how do I actually get detached? So, in this situation, there's a very beautiful word that we learn here in the organization, and that word is called sakshi. Have you heard that word before? Sakshi drishta. Drishta means one who sees. Sakshi is creating a distance. So there is a situation, if I can create a distance between me and that situation, right? That means I'm able to see that situation with clarity. I'm not disconnecting. I'm seeing that situation with clarity. Now, how do I do that? So, I use a very wonderful technique. I'm going to share that secret with you. How do I detach myself?
Please.
And that secret is called, it's a tact. I was asking him, how do you spell tact? So, tact, T-A-C-T. The first T is tolerance. Now, tolerance is not being quiet. Tolerance is not accepting things with pain. That is not tolerance. Tolerance is a virtue. Tolerance is a power. And any power or virtue cannot bring pain. So if I'm tolerating something and it is bringing me pain, that means I'm not tolerating at the first place. So real tolerance starts from acceptance, which is A.
Beautiful.
What we do is, the reason we cannot get detached is because our first response to the situation is rejection.
Yes.
Why me? This cannot happen to me. Right? So we reject what is the drama of life bringing to us. So rather than rejecting it, can I say, okay, this is what is being served on my plate? Can I look at it? So the moment I accept it, I don't have to. Rejection happens on multiple levels. Rejection happens that this situation is against my belief system. This situation is against my nature. This situation is not what I am grown up to deal with, or I'm unable, I don't feel myself capable enough to go with that situation. No matter wherever I am in my journey of life, let me take a deep breath and say, okay, this is it. So if I accept, then I am able to see with clarity and calmness. So if I have to detach myself, the first thing I need to do is allow myself. There's a lot of upheaval going on inside. You always observe that whenever you're attached to something and it's been taken away, or it is
Just the urge to react to
exactly.
it.
So there's a lot of upheaval or turbulences, or a lot of thoughts that are there in the mind. So the first moment, this pause, pause is very important. So the moment you pause, you allow yourself to be calm, you accept that situation, and the last, the T, is trust. Now, what is trust? There's a beautiful understanding in the organization that we all belong to the Supreme Father. We are connected with the Supreme Being, right? All of us. So let's say in a situation with I am with my biological father, and if there is any problem that's going to attack me, I have that sense of backup with me, right? That no matter whatever is going to happen, this man is always going to be with me, right?
Yes.
So if life is going to throw something at me, do I trust that that Supreme Father always going to be with me all the time, anytime, every time? Right? So when I connect myself to that Supreme Being and I have that trust, now trust can only happen if my karma is right, if my intention is right. So I have to check every day. Patience or detachment or tolerance does not come overnight. I have to practice this every day. That's important. Right? That belief that there is that supreme energy with me and nothing wrong can happen. And when I'm saying practice every day is not thinking or not having affirmation, I'm not talking about all that. I'm talking about self reflection, that what I am doing at this point of time, is that bringing peace to me? And if that is not bringing peace to me, that means I have to change my thoughts immediately.
Is it like rewiring your response by taking pauses, basically? If we are at work, we are in autopilot mode sometimes.
Yes.
If we are at home, our natural reaction to any criticism is defense, right? We counter it. But probably we take pause, we allow ourselves the time to think, and then rewire our response, which is tolerance.
I would like to ask you a question. You have been practicing recently the pauses.
Yes.
What has your experience been with those pauses?
Um, Initially, I could not connect to this detachment. I will be honest with you. I thought like, okay, how do we? So I was going into disconnect, which was like, okay, I'm at work or I'm at home. There was an auto response. Now started practicing meditation in the morning, 10 minutes, in the evening, 10 minutes, give and take a few minutes here and there. That started working. But again, from 9 to 6, 40 hours a week was very hard because you're surrounded and the body was and the mind was tuned to responding certain situations, especially criticism or allegations. Good things, no problem, right? So during the daytime, courtesy Brahma Kumaris and Didis, sisters' help, started taking interim pauses whenever I went for a glass of water. Just took a moment or two to just relax, and then had some automated sort of alert. So they did start helping, but yeah, patience was the key. Initially, it was a bit of struggle to get that, but yeah, over a period of time, they started helping. That's my experience.
Yeah, so take a pause.
So this leads to a nice topic, which is again very relevant to the youth, which is comparison. Now, taking a story from Mahabharata, Arjun was a celebrated warrior of Mahabharata. He was known for his focus on his own skills, without comparing himself to others. Now, how can one develop this kind of attribute or quality where he can focus relentlessly on himself? We look at comparison between siblings at work, trying to constantly achieve what others have achieved, and so on. And to add to that, social media, while it is helpful on a lot of places, it does add to despair. The reason is, if you look at it, people mostly post happy singing, dancing pictures. And I had an instance, one of my friends was sitting idle and was not happy because he has a special need kid. And now he was not sharing initially, but then he had that kid for some time, didn't have a problem. But then I started, what has changed in the last 5, 6 months? And then you realize it's the use of the media. Right? So it adversely impacted him to an extent. So how do we remain content with what we've got? Detach, or rather stay focused on what we have.
So you mentioned Arjuna and his capacity to be focused. It wasn't that Arjun never compared himself. Interestingly, what he did was he observed everyone. He was always observing and learning. Um, there's a beautiful story where Arjun is another character from the mythology, and he's a very good archer, one of the greatest archer of all times. His brother, Bhim, he was a very, very strong muscle man. He would like a very strong personality. But his weakness was to eat. So one day he sees that it's dark, it's very, very dark, right? And his brother Bhim is eating. And Arjun could never eat in darkness because he can't see the food. If he can't see the food, where will he put his hand and where the spoon would go? And the thought process was that I'll spill everything over and I won't be able to eat. So I need a little bit of light to eat. But when one day he saw his brother Bhim just eating in deep darkness, he went up to him and he asked him, "How do you do that? How is it possible?" And he says, "This is my job, to eat. I love eating. So you give me food anytime, I'll eat." Right? That is what triggered to Arjun that if he can eat in darkness, why can't I shoot in darkness? Because that's what I love. And he started practicing. So what is and he became the greatest archer. Comparison is when I look at people and let go of my dignity. Growth is when I look at people and enhance my dignity. So if I want to let go of comparison, I just have to uphold my dignity. That's it. I'm not saying stop looking at other people. I'm saying maintain your dignity and your self respect whilst looking at them. Because practically it's not possible. I can't tell you just close your eyes and don't look at anybody and walk on your path. That doesn't work. We live in a very practical world and we have to perform, right? Dadi Janki, who was the chief of Brahma Kumaris and who actually sustained the whole organization until she was 104, she said one very beautiful thing. She said, "Run as much as you want, run in the race of life. Just make sure that you are on your own track. So enhance your speed. See what is possible for you. Just don't leave your track." What we do is we see someone's track and we jump from one track to another, to the third, to the fourth, and trying to find a happiness and trying to replicate what other people's life are. I'm not here to replicate. I'm here to be me. I don't have to be somebody part two. I just have to be myself part one. Because each one of us brings some uniqueness. We all are unique in our own selves. We all are gifted. Can I use my gift for the betterment of the world? And I'll be unique. I don't have to copy. I just have to use my virtues and my values in the best possible. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yes, it does. Just an example, maybe from my friend childhood. We were three friends growing together until year 5, 6, no problem because we're all doing great. As we moved along towards teenagers, some falling short of the academic excellence they potentially would have liked. They did well in businesses. But at that time, when you look at the societal pressure and what parents draw in terms of comparison with friends, so look, your friend is doing this and that. I think the key here, what the message is you can control your own thoughts, your own self-control if you exercise. The other world, external world is not going to change for you. So you actually empower yourself by doing certain things. Thank you.
It's a very beautiful story from mythology that reminds me. So, in Hinduism, it's a very complex. The whole scriptures are too complex and too miraculous. Your logical mind would think, how practically this can ever happen, right? So the mythology goes. I'll just go in a little bit of story because it's a story time this evening. And the story is, how did the creation of this world happen? So, God, Brahma, the creator, and Brahma had given birth to 12 rishis. They became sages, right? And their job was to just be in deep, deep meditation. And then they got married to different women, and whatever nature of that girl would be, one creature would be born through her, through meditation. You know? So if my nature is of anger, then it would give birth to a carnivorous animal. That's how animals came into existence. That's how different kind of other species came into existence. That's how the whole world started creating, right? So in the mythology, there's a beautiful story. So this sage, his name was Kashyap, I think so. I'm not right now remembering the names correctly. My apologies. But he got married to two sisters. Now, these two sisters were opposite in nature. One was very calm, very devoted, very religious, would worship, and was filled with virtues. The other sister was also nice, kind, because they were born from the same family orientation. But she had this weakness of comparison, and she was very jealous of her sister. Very, very jealous of her sister, because she knew that the virtues of the sister were far more powerful than her intelligence. She was very intelligent. But rather than imbibing those virtues, she would always find ways to belittle her own sister. Now, what happened? Their father married both of them to a one man, right? And there was a time that both wanted to give birth. So in those days, birth happened in a very unique way. Birth happened to boons. Birth happened to some blessings. So both of them went to their husband with this. The first one went to the husband, who was a bit jealous because she thought, let me go first. So my children are older ones. So I'll have authority. I'll have power. I'll have, a say. Yes. The second one was not very interested. She's like, whatever happens, very calm, happy go lucky, everything, very trust based. So when she goes, the husband says, ask a boon. I just have to say yes or no, and I'll go for my tapasya. So she says, I want a boon of giving birth to 100 children. Right. And the husband says, okay. And how do you want your children to be? Just like me, with a lot of power, with a lot of, they should replicate who I am. So the husband, because he's a sage, and sages do have water, a little case. So he gives her a water and says, remember your deity, drink this water, and then sprinkle it around, and there will be 100 eggs through those sprinkle, and your babies will be incubated in those eggs, 100. So she does that. She goes, and then there's a big land she sprinkles, and there are 100 small, small eggs that have been there. And then they are incubating. They're growing big, big, big. And you can see a whole land with like dragon eggs, big, big eggs. On the journey, the second one. So now the husband is thinking that the first one wants to give birth. I think similar would be with the other one. So let me go and ask. So he initiates the conversation, says yes, and he asks how many children you want. And she's quiet because she's never thought about it. It doesn't matter to her. There's no greed, there's no comparison. So the husband decides for her, you'll have two, because they can play together, and you'll have two. That's fine, no problem. But she has a condition, and her condition was that my children should be virtue based. They should bring benefit to the world and all the good things that she's done. And then she goes away, he goes away. There's a lot of distance between the two because he goes for his penance and stuff like that, and she's involved in her daily activities. And she meets different people on the journey. And when she's meeting different people on the journey, everybody is so much touched by her kindness, by her goodness, and everybody knows that she's been given a blessing that she can give birth to two children. The concept is the same. You'll have eggs. You just throw water and the eggs will be there, and you just have to nurture the eggs externally. And somebody is saying that your son will be as bright as the sun, your son will be so glorious, this, that. Everybody is giving them a lot of blessing. Now she's got two eggs, and the sister has got 100 eggs, right? What's happening after both the mothers are nurturing? So this mother who has got 100 eggs, 100 children, she goes to all the eggs and she tells them, she gives them a mantra. Babies do listen, right? While they're incubating. So she tells you have to get power, you have to get this, you have to get that. And she is nurturing them in a bit more negative way. This side, this mother with the 2 eggs, there's only one field. So the 100 out of the 100, the 2 are close by with this 2. So she's actually talking to 4, because the other 2 can also hear what she's talking to these 2. And these are being nurtured with values and goodness and benevolence and different kind of stuff. After 11 months, 12 months, something like that, the first egg out of the 100 egg cracks and a species open up. And when it cracks, she knows what it is. And a beautiful snake comes out. A beautiful snake with 1,000 heads comes out, right? And the interesting thing is, it was the egg which was near the other 2. So that snake is not, it is filled with divinity. It's a snake because of all the negative things that the mother has said, the jealousy and all the poison. But at the same time, it's divine. It's calm, right? Then the second egg also is a snake, but it's only single one, but it's huge, very, 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 very long, extremely long, right? Very vicious, but long, but still has some kind of aura of positivity in it, right? And then day by day, day by day, day by day, each out of 100 eggs crack up, 100 snakes have born. They're called Nagas. So the first one was the name given as Sheshnag. Have you heard about that?
Yes.
Sheshnag. And the second one was Vasuki. Have you heard about that? No. Have you seen Vishnu in Hindu mythology? He is sleeping on a snake, right? That snake is called Sheshnag. And if you have seen Shankar, one of the 3 Trinity deities, he's got a snake around his neck as a garland. That is Vasuki. Because of their divinity, they are religious,
Worshipped in a way.
worshipped, right? So they let go of their negativity completely because of the influence of what the mother had shared with them. So all the 100 babies are born, but here the 2 are not cracking. The other 2, right? And the scriptures say it took 500 years for the egg to incubate, and it was still not cracking. It was still not cracking. And this mother was getting restless because 500 years, people, I don't know how they survived up to 500 years. Don't ask me that question. But they didn't incubate. And this sister is thinking, wow, my children are in power and this and that. And she knew that this too, the more they take time, the more powerful they'll become. So she started putting seed of comparison in her sister. Why I'm sharing this story? That I'm sure your babies can't do. Look at my babies. And all that comparison started. And in that comparison, she forced, this is what happens with us in our life. We are very good. We are working on our path. And then people come and pressurize us.
Yes.
There's some pressure here and there. And we lose our patience. We lose our values. We let go of everything. Why? Because we start doubting. So she started doubting. Is something wrong with, because the husband is gone. He never comes back, right? In the scriptures, he gives the water and he disappears for years and years because he's gone for another reason. So she doesn't know and she starts doubting. And then she can hear a voice. She connects to the eggs. But somehow she really feels, because it's feeded, that I need to help them crack. Let me take the power. So what she does is, she actually tries to crack the whole egg. When she cracks, of course, whatever is inside will come out. This is such a beautiful, majestic, handsome, heroic, lot of glow, lot of divinity, lot of power. A man comes out of that egg. Grown up man comes out of the egg. And as the boon was that he'll be as radiant as the sun and he'll be the Indra of the sky and this and that, he just appears, right? And she's thrilled to see the child. But then she steps back in agony, in pain. And what had happened? Because she forced the incubation and she cracked it, he was only half incubated. So the person, the man that came out, was only half. He did not have legs because his legs were not created out of those 500 years. But he was very, very powerful. The half body was powerful. But what would he do? So because he was as glorious as sun and he had a job to do, so then he became the charioteer for the sun. Because in the Hindu mythology, the sun travels in a chariot.
Yes.
So he became the charioteer because he can use his hands, and his name is Arun. Arun means the glow, the light that travels before the sun travels. Like, you see in the dawn that beautiful golden orange twilight. Right? So he became that. And he advises his mother, don't compare. Let my brother incubate and let him take as long as he would.
Beautiful.
So she leaves it another 500 years because she knows in 500 years my babies will only be nurtured half. So she waits for another 500 years. And then what comes out is a Garud. It's eagle. Yeah. And he becomes the chariot for Vishnu.
Wow.
Right? And that's why from that day, eagles and snakes don't go hand in hand. Right? Because there's some family problem there.
A beautiful story.
But why I'm sharing this story is what comparisons actually does. It does not allow you to grow fully. It stops your journey halfway. So if I am comparing myself, I'm not even saying compare yourself with others. I'm saying if I compare myself with even myself, I'm stopping my growth. You see, the mother, she compared, she doubted herself. She was just thinking about her own self. So if I'm comparing myself, I'm listening to the pressure that society is putting on me, I'm not going to grow. I won't be able to achieve my own path. So comparison takes me away from my destination.
I think it also gives rise to a lot of negative self-talk, which I have also noticed in the youth, that you start saying that I'm not good enough because that person is going there. I'm not good enough. But there was a beautiful story, and I think actually took me back to my childhood days when my parents used to tell me these stories. And I think what story you said was beautiful because, the patience for 500 years. Wow. I think that's one of the virtues that the youth in general need to learn, because in all of my life as well, the one thing that my mom and my dad has to repeatedly complain about me, Manvi, you need to have patience. Whatever you want, you're in the right path, you need to have patience. And then she told me this story about the Pandavas at that time, that because I've always asked her, what patience, what is it going to do to me? I'm not getting what I want. And she told me the story of the 5 Pandavas brothers after the dice game. So these 5 brothers from the Mahabharata story, Arjun being one of the brothers, they had a lot of, I would say, unfairness done to them in their life. And there comes a time when there's a dice game where everything, their kingdom, their sons, everything is taken away from them, and they are told to go to exile for 13 years. And I've always asked my mom this question, that 13 years, 13 years to wait for justice, the patience. And she always told me that what they did in those 13 years was self-reflect, first of all, And also, they took this time to connect with God, to get that power from God. They did pray to Shiva. I know they prayed to Ashwin Kumaras. They also prayed to Lord Hanuman in that way. So they gained that power from God. So she always told me that when you are patient, you are gaining those skills inside you. You know, you're asking God for that power. But I'm still practicing patience, I would say. I'm trying. So what are your best tips to be patient and practice patience in life?
One word, I would say two words: respect and acceptance. Let me respect everything that is in front of me. Let me appreciate everything that is in front of me. If I respect, I'll appreciate.
Okay.
If I appreciate, I'll accept.
It's a bit difficult concept. Can you please elaborate?
I'll elaborate. See, if I'm respecting each and every person, see, patience is a virtue. Virtue belongs to the soul. Virtue belongs to me realizing that who I truly am. Patience is directly connected with my inner dignity. Patience is connected with who I am, right? But if I don't know who I am, I'm going to end up being impatient. So, in spirituality, we know that we are spiritual beings, call ourselves soul, we call ourselves that energy, and we, the spiritual beings, are full of virtues. And I'm not saying I am full of virtues, but everyone sitting in the room is a spiritual being, right? We are souls in this body. So each and every soul is full of virtues. Can I see them with that vision?
I think it's about goals in that way. I think one of the other things I would like to add this question in is sometimes we don't have patience because we don't believe in the outcome. So I feel like if I'm going to the gym and I'm like, okay, 1 month they've given me a plan, and I don't believe, like, will I be able to reach that goal? So if I can't reach that goal, there's a disbelief in the start of the process itself. Then why should I keep patience to do that?
Coming back to where I started, you are creating disbelief because you don't know your own power. So boiling down is to know yourself. So if I have spent time, like you said, the Pandavas, or maybe in Ramayana, it was Sri Ram, or anyone who has spent sufficient enough time in self-reflection, self-discovery, knowing yourself, they wouldn't get impatient. It's just because, I know, okay, I might not be able to make it, but what's wrong in giving it a try? Everything starts from a thought. So, it's not wrong to feel something, but what do I do with the feeling is important. So, impatience is not the reaction. Impatience means I'm holding that reaction for more than few seconds and longer. So, I can get scared, I can get annoyed, I can get irritated, but I do have the power to change that emotion within a second. So am I stepping back, observing what am I reacting to, what are my triggers, and if I'm able to understand and scan that this is it, and can I replace it with a positive? Okay. Patience is nothing but using your thoughts in an artistic way or in the most efficient way to recreate your reality.
So what should be the ideal thoughts? Because
say in your example of going to gym and not getting results, right? Can I look at the facts?
Okay.
Can I see how things have changed in 1 month? Okay, I was expecting 20%, but I can only see change 2%, right? So I've got two choices. Either I leave it because I've not reached to 20%, Or I can accept the fact, wow, it takes me 1 month to reach 2%. So let's say in 10 months, I will reach 20%. And if I'm going with that mindset, with that acceptance, understanding, right? So remember, I said respect and acceptance. So I'm appreciating what is there. I'm not seeing at what is not there. I'm not focusing on that 18%. I'm focusing on that 2%. So it could be a situation, it could be people. People sometimes say, I don't have patience to work with this person. It requires a lot of calm energy to be with certain individuals. But okay, that's one nature, there's one element of their personality that's annoying me. Right? But there is 20 aspects of the same personality which is great. Where is my attention? What am I respecting in that moment of time?
Generally, we do tend to focus on the negatives.
We focus on the 18 and we let go of the 2%. But the interesting thing is, if you start focusing on the 2%, that 2% will go to 20% in a very short.
It gives you a lot of motivation as well in that moment. That at least 2%, then I can next month can be more.
No, it gives you self-belief. It kills your self-doubt. If I can do 2% with all these negative thoughts, then with focus, I can reach up to 20%. Nobody can stop me. Right?
I was relevant to story. Those who tried learning driving in the UK, I was very impatient. I was just thinking, okay, I never drove a car. It's a long time ago. Tried to learn from providers available on the market. Went straight up, gave test after 15 odd lessons, thinking I'm good enough. And failed. And then I was like sulking, and then I looked at the statistics. How many lessons or an hour, how many hours usually it takes for an average individual, not superhuman, to pass an exam. And it was 40 odd lessons. Did I take it? So at that time, I felt really bad, but then I looked at the incremental gain. And there's a process. So if we focus on the process probably and look at the incremental gain, eventually we'll reach there. But if we focus on maybe results, yes, it does dishearten at times.
So actually it boils down to choice. What do I choose? I have, like in your case, you did both. You chose both. You chose to sulk, go into the negative zone, and then you got tired of being negative and you chose enough. Let me see what I can do with it to deal with it. And then you chose positive and eventually you succeeded. But do we realize that the moment we sulk, we waste a lot of time?
Yeah.
Right? And the mythology stories are so beautiful that they teach you how not to waste time. So you do one thing, it did not work, try another thing. Right? So even in Brahma Kumaris, they say that the teachings that we learn every day, it's a beautiful thing. There is no guilt in real life. Guilt is an illusion. There is no regret, it's an illusion. You've done something which you regret 1 second, change it the next second. Because regretting itself is a mistake. I've committed a mistake. Now I'm regretting and nagging and sulking. I'm wasting 3 days, which again is a mistake. Right?
Yes.
So rather than creating a mistake out of another mistake, let me make it right. What is mistake? You're missing the mark, right? So if I've missed the mark, if I didn't get bullseye, doesn't matter. Let me take another bow and everyone shoot it. Right? So that's how we progress. So everything I think comes down to this understanding of how do I want to shape my life? My life. Am I ready to take the ownership of my life? Or do I want society, or do I want the beliefs, or do I want the peer pressure, or do I want the social media to shape my life? It's a question to ask myself.
I think with the time that we have, I think I want to direct you to a very most special bond that somebody can have is with God. So when we're talking about all of these things, I think the power that God can give us is very, very important. So when we look at the mythology, there are two mythologies. One is Ramayana and one is Mahabharata, where you see as we would say, I'm going to use the term villain of Ramayana. Ravan had a very different relationship with God when, he was always, I felt like in a way, selfish to just take and use it in a bad way, the powers that he got from God. But on the other end, when we look at the Mahabharata tale, Arjun, that is the hero of Mahabharata, as we say, I've always wondered why he was the hero of Mahabharata. Was it because he was a very good archer, or his ability to completely surrender himself to God? That I think he had a very beautiful relationship with God, where he completely trusted God, and I think that was one of the reasons he could imbibe what was being taught to him in that way. And I've had a very special relationship with Baba as well. I would say that one of the most special relationships that I have, where I ask Shiv Baba for the most littlest of things, that even something like, the skincare is not working, do something. But there have come times in my life where that trust in God and the process is comes under a bit of a bus, because I feel like this has happened to me, something very bad has happened to me. Where is God? So I think, how do we build a very good relationship with God, with that trust, and get that guidance from God?
So for those who are here first time or watching us online, when she's referring to Shiv Baba, Baba means father. Shiva means the most supreme one. So for her, the supreme father is Shiv Baba, right? So a beautiful question, and actually you've answered the question yourself. Yes, trust is something very, very important in any relationship, not just with God, but in any relationship. And trust is based on respect and understanding and knowing. So one is to believe in something, but the other one is to know something. So if I know something very well, I'll trust that. If I don't know, or if I know this won't work, I wouldn't trust, right? So it's the same way with God. Do I know God? No, I won't trust. And why don't I know God? Do I know myself? Right? If I don't know myself, how would I know God? Simple. So the whole journey is to be comfortable knowing yourself and then connecting. If you figure out who you are, you'll figure out who God is. And once you've figured out who God is, there'll be zero complaints. Once you've figured out who you are, there'll be zero complaints. Because things that come to us, we think that we are going through all this stuff, that upheaval or whatever it is, in turbulences of life and things. So we think we are going through life. But when you know yourself and when you know God, the perspective changes. Yes. And you don't think you are going through life, but you think you're growing through life. So situations come, and they come not because God is not there, because God is there. Say, for example, you've got the best teacher in the universe. You've got somebody who's teaching you a subject, and he's a greatest scholar of our current times, right? And people know that that is your professor for the subject. And now you're going out and meeting 10 different people. Do you think, what would be the quality of the questions that people ask you?
Yeah.
Would it be simple or would it be complex?
A bit complex.
Why?
Because they know I'm getting answers from the Supreme.
You're getting answers from the scholar, right?
Yeah.
They know that it's been understood that you've got the depths of the subject, because your teacher, your coach is a wonderful person. So if you have a relationship with Supreme, he is the ultimate. So whatever questions life is going to put at you, do you think they'll be simple? No. And he's the teacher. So life is going to give you great hard time. Not because you have done something wrong, because Life knows that you are the only person on this planet who can answer this with dignity and be an example for the entire humanity.
And how would you receive that help from God? Like, how would
Just
you
be
know?
yourself. Just be yourself. And when I'm saying be yourself, I'm not saying the one who doubts. I'm not saying the one who's uncertain. Because doubt, uncertainty, and lack of confidence in that time is not coming from who you are. It's coming from what other people are going to think of who you are. So, am I able to let go of other people's opinion in that moment? Like, say, for example, if there was nobody in this room, right now there are 20, 30 people, and there are 100 people, I don't know how many are watching online, right? Let's say there was no webcast, no broadcasting happening, no live event happening, nobody over here would be there. Would you feel the same like you're feeling right now?
A bit different.
A bit different. You'd feel a bit more relaxed. You might feel a bit more comfortable. Yeah? But you can still feel the same with so many people around once you know who they are, right? So it's all about what is happening inside me, not what is happening outside me. So outside there might be 100 minds who are thinking of how I should be, but inside there's only one mind who knows how I should be. So am I giving priority to my own mind, or am I getting priority to those 100 minds?
Yeah. I think B.K. Shivani has touched on this topic where she said that sometimes your instinct might be when you're connected to God, follow your instincts. But sometimes I picture myself when I'm talking to Shiv Baba, I'm a big sulking baby in front of him, asking him questions. I think this is a very nice way of self-reflecting and letting Baba and your God take over your actions.
Um, why would he take over my actions?
I
I
think
have to perform my own actions. Right? God doesn't take over my actions. God has got multiple other things to do.
the guidance where he is.
God doesn't interfere in my karma. That's not his job. My job is to put my karma right. My job is to understand me being connected to God. Am I staying in my dignity? God can only tell me, direct me how to stay in my dignity, but it becomes my duty and my responsibility to uphold that dignity. He wouldn't interfere. And then we fight. Why don't you interfere? Because it's not his job.
I think the biggest challenge I face in particular was this connection, right? How do we take pause and how frequently we should take pause? That's when we start feeling, because it's a perception eventually, right? That someone is with us. That belongingness comes afterwards, I guess. So is there kind of, I know practice makes man perfect, right? Is there kind of guidance or some steps people can follow?
Again, I would say the easiest way that has worked for me is understanding. Understanding and experiencing, experimenting. Three things. Let me understand who I am, who the Supreme is. Let me experiment with what I've understood rather than just believing in it. Let me experiment with what is being said, what is being. People have experimented, that's worked for them, it is working for me. Let me make it real for me and let me experience it. Once I've experienced it, let's say you've taken a pause. Don't use your intellect, don't use your heart. Just be that and see what the experience is. Because sometimes we overanalyze things, we complicate simple concepts of life, and then we think we don't get results because you will never get results by complicating things. Always keep it simple. Simplicity has a lot of power. So when I keep things simple, which means let me just be. So easy way to experience God, I would say let go of all your labels, including your gender, including your name, including your qualification, color of your skin, your nationality, everything. Just drop it. Now, what is left is you, the real you. Be that. Just be that. Don't do anything with it. Just be that for a few moments in life, every hour, and you will see things will shift.
Thank you so much, sister.
Any questions from the audience? We, I think, have just one time for one question if there is any. Yeah, could you just wait for the mic to come over to you, please?
I think we talked a lot about self-acceptance, and I find myself, worked a lot on myself recently. So I'm trying to be much more me. Be, sometimes I find myself in a position where I still do sabotage myself. So I would like to ask you if you've got any tips, please.
Uh, are you first time to this place?
I think
Few times. Yeah. So we have a very, if you go to our YouTube channel, there was a very senior sister who came a few months ago, a year ago. She's explained in detail how to get over self-sabotage. There's a very detailed way of it. So if you just Google Sister Jayanti and Inner Space Wembley, yeah, and you'll get a very beautiful session where she has shared all the detailed steps about it, because lack of time, so I can't go on with all over it. But in one word is something we practice here is called soul consciousness. What consciousness am I holding throughout the day, every moment? So if I'm aware and I can be able, I allow myself to be in that consciousness of that virtuous being, of that virtuous energy, it's very easy for me to get out of sabotaging myself. Thank you. Okay, so let's have a moment of silence. I'm not going to guide you through a meditation just because I'm aware of time. But in this silence, because we've talked a lot about taking pause, a lot about self-reflection, a lot about being yourself. So let us have this minute in which we just go within. Let me allow myself to take my attention from everything that's out there and just go inside and just see myself as this beautiful point of light, energy, free from all the labels that the world has given me. My name, all that I think is my identity. Let me allow myself to be free. And just see myself as a master of this body. Beautiful point of light, radiating vibrations of peace, and just be who I am. A being of peace. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Shanti.
So thank you to our young stars. Beautiful. I think you'll have to watch the whole clip again, isn't it, on YouTube, to really captivate the experiences. And more for you for next week. we have special speakers coming all the way from Europe. And so Sonia and Golo, really responsible for coordinating programs and organizing and planning ways to reach out to people to share about the environment. So you see the Brahmakumaris at the headquarters have the solar project. And so if you want to know more about that, they are the seeds of really what's been happening in terms of the environment. And so they're going to be here with us next week on the 13th of August. And the topic is the soul compass, learn to navigate in uncertain times. And the follow-up program for our meditations are regular. Monday and Thursday, 7 to 7:30. They're in-house, but they're also online, should you wish to join us. And Sundays, 10 to 10:45 is online. So you may come online and inspire new ones to meditate. You hear a lot about the soul this evening. You've heard a lot of stories connected to spiritual truths. And so inspire people in your own workplace, in your own families to join them on a Sunday, I would say. But for those who want to take it more serious, they want to do the 7 days fast track course. There's an online one coming up next on the 19th of August to 25th August, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. It's early in the morning, so should you feel serious about it and want to really do it, I do recommend them. They're very, very good. And apart from that, the product for the week is Untangling Religion into Spirituality. So something for you to chew on, should you wish to see the book. And thank you for coming this evening. And thank you for our panelists coming all the way from their workplaces, right? Traveling to be here, to inspire more youths to come. Because as you see what the other youths are doing who haven't got spirituality or the fortune of spirituality, and what are the youths who have spirituality thinking about? And so it starts with a few and invite more in and keep it inspired. Thank you so much. Om Shanti.